It's quite astounding. Robyn's urge to keep her beloved youngsters from discovering that Mary had to make a difficult move is understandable, but it's important to remember that she had no empathy for the 13 children when their entire world was turned upside down, and they were uprooted from their Utah existence to start over in Las Vegas. Not to mention how she turned the older children into her enemies since they weren't celebrating her pregnancy with pleasure, as if it were the most terrible event they had ever experienced. Savannah is also visible. She probably didn't even think twice about the tenders at the time because Robyn was so focused on her drama, traveling the American West and pursuing a man with a receding hairline. Absolutely no issue. Hey, hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel TLC Flicks. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. However, all of a sudden, she is rearing these children as if they were too frail to cope with the idea of someone going across the nation. The entire situation involving Mary was absurd. When your distant Aunt Marge tells you that she's moving, everyone thinks, okay, cool. See you later. At this point, Robyn's contribution to their lives is so minor that it's almost absurd that she's turning it into such a big deal. Not to include Robyn's question about if she can hear this chat. That was rather aggravating, huh? When Christine was discussing how to care for the children when they were infants and toddlers, she casually noted that Janelle was working full-time and Cody was out of town during the week. Did anyone else catch that little nugget? Hold on, what? Cody was gone all week while they were living in their trailer in Wyoming and having children one after the other. What role did that play in his alleged rotation? It's no wonder that the spouses didn't get along. Cody was out somewhere, not doing the daily chores, and the three ladies who didn't exactly agree were living in close quarters with young children. What a treasure! Cody had to travel for job, sales, or other reasons, of course. However, for the children, seeing their father on the weekends was likely even more joyful, which was ideal for Cody, isn't it? He is getting more attention, and everyone is excited to see him, including the wives and children. It made me consider how often people talk about how Cody was a fantastic father in the past, particularly when the children were young and he wasn't even present. It's kind of funny that they've been making excuses for him the entire time, but I suppose that's why I continue to watch. Along with these small revelations about what life was actually like, we are also seeing snippets of those idyllic family times. It wasn't the ideal family life they were attempting to sell us, spoiler alert. To be honest, it doesn't surprise me that Cody didn't take a more active role in parenting his children. At best, he was a delightful weekend dad. At worst, he was likely a temperamental, immature, and religiously controlling one. As Isabel stated, he is not a present father. However, given Christine's statement that she won't stop for anyone, it must be the case that the standard for decent ply parents is so low that Cody received any recognition for being one. It really got under my skin. It's not just any individual. I found it condescending that Christine dismissed her young daughter's tears and her statement that she was having difficulty with the circumstance by adding, "I won't stop for anybody. It's your kid, for crying out loud." As typically happens when I mention Christine, I'm aware that some folks are likely getting ready to attack me for this. But it's not that I don't like her. It's just that it seems like she's moving too quickly into this connection with David. I understand. After spending so much time in a close-knit culture, she is now at last pursuing her own interests. However, certain things are still worth giving further thought to. People would say that since she is 50, she shouldn't have to wait. However, if you're genuinely happy in this relationship and believe that David is your soulmate, it wouldn't hurt to provide your children a little more stability for a few more months if you genuinely want Christine to. Reduce the pace. I understand, but it's Isabel, who is a kind and considerate person, who says she's afraid of losing her connection with Cody because of this. That's the problem. The relationship between Christine and David isn't the issue. It's how it affects her kids, especially Isabel, and Cody's unavoidable separation from them. The focus seems to be on Cody's reaction rather than the bond between Christine and David. After graduating, Isabel plans to move to North Carolina, where she has already found her place. Her need for that distance makes perfect sense to me. In my opinion, Christine hasn't been the best mother of the year, but once the children are grown and living on their own, they don't really have the power to control her dating life, just as Christine has no control over their love preferences or the pace of those relationships. I do wish there had been more genuine perspective on all of this. I sincerely hope she agrees with everything that is going on. All right? Mary said in the most recent episode that she thought Kody was deliberately pushing her away so she would go and he wouldn't be the villain. We all knew it, though. Then, in his interview, Kody claims that although Robyn was in favor of their separation, he had to wait for Mary to go on her own. He even acknowledged the possibility that he had prolonged it excessively. Hold on a second. Hasn't Robyn been crying over her desire to spend her later years with her sister wives? She has been expressing her desire for Kody to mend their relationship, hasn't she? Kody once declared her support for reconciliation, didn't she? Did the truth eventually surface on television? Did Robyn acknowledge that she was severing the family? And did Kody acknowledge that he prolonged the Mary issue beyond what was necessary? Kody mentioned that he led Mary on far longer than he should have because Robyn advised him that he was wrong to try to break things up. I'm not sure whether I understood this well or if I misinterpreted his comment. I believe that Robyn is now accepting Mary's departure and wants her to find happiness, but I don't believe it. Additionally, I believe Robyn feels a little annoyed that Kody is still depressed or sentimental about the end of this era. The problem is that, until Robyn entered his life, Kody had never experienced true happiness or love, right? Therefore, it indicates that he had not experienced love and happiness before to her if he is still mourning the past. In actuality, Kody is totally lost. Robyn has influenced him to the point where he no longer even recognizes his own thoughts and emotions. Unpopular viewpoint. I have no sympathy for Mary. I might do so someday, but not today. Although all of her responses followed Kody's explicit rejection of her, Mary remained supportive of him even after his repulsive tirade against Christine. Shortly after Kody's violent outburst, she rushed to give Robyn a long, emotional hug. However, where was Christine's support? Christine was humiliated by Kody, and she embraced Robyn rather than Christine in her talking head. Mary said she was upset by Christine's departure, felt deceived, and even appeared relieved that Kody had said such things to her. Although Christine undoubtedly has her own problems, she wasn't deserving of the verbal abuse. She made no secret of her intention to leave, but Mary's covert escape plan, let's face it, backfired when her sweetheart was shown to be a scammer. Nevertheless, Mary felt deceived by Christine's departure. If my memory serves me correctly, that is blatant hypocrisy. It was Mary who initially campaigned for Robyn to become a member of the family. I still believe that Mary's intention to change the dynamic and gain more love and appreciation from Kody by getting a new wife and having more children backfired. In the end, Mary got to where she is now thanks to her own deeds and plans. She deserves credit for eventually leaving, but I'm not going to feel sorry for her because the original three also didn't treat one another properly. Every one of them made blunders while vying for Kody's attention. I don't place more guilt on one than the other, but Mary's statement that Kody had forced her to go through a lot of hoops for the past 10 years in the hopes that they would once again be a legitimate marriage was a wonderful summary of everything. He essentially told her no after the list was exhausted. In any case, that's the truth of her circumstances. As a divorced child, I have seen the uncomfortable and occasionally painful. Since my mother dated guys while I was a young adolescent, I must admit that I am somewhat disappointed in Christine. 2 months after meeting a man, she moves him in with her teenage daughters, despite her portrayal as a loving mother who would sacrifice all for her children. She would really do everything for her kids, but it seems like she hasn't taken the required precautions to ensure that this overly enthusiastic man isn't a hazard. The problem is that in order to acquire access to vulnerable children, groomers seek ladies like Christine, and it always gets me angry when she acts defensive and arrogant about not caring what people think. I would be furious at the danger of putting a man in such a state of true space if I were Kody. The unfortunate truth is that each and every one of those parents has frequently put their children's needs ahead of their own. This is not a novel situation. My dad took his time introducing us to the woman who would become my stepmother, and I was really old when my parents began dating after their divorce. She is a very remarkable individual, and I cannot fathom my existence without her. The important thing is that my dad was cautious. He considered the impact on us and did not rush anything. Not so much about my mother. She immediately attracted males, and when I was a teenager, a few of them even made advances on me. Fortunately, I was able to defend myself, but the danger of something much worse occurring was real, and when I told my mother, she didn't seem to care. In summary, responsible, healthy parents don't date with children the way Christine is. even if David ends up being the greatest thing that has ever been done. It's crazy that Christine made a self-centered, naive gamble for no apparent reason 2 months ago. I have the same sentiments. Because I had my children to consider and had heard too many horror stories, I decided not to date as a single mother. My children came first, and I'm not claiming to be flawless. In conclusion, Christine has put herself in a genuinely perilous situation, and I find it extremely unsettling to witness. It just doesn't seem right with me that their needs seem to have been overlooked, especially given how fast they entered this relationship. Alright, stay tuned, because I believe that certain things are beginning to take shape. After 3 difficult divorces, I believe Cody is finally beginning to see Mary as one of the devoted individuals still in his life. He has been with one lady for a long, whereas previously he had 4. I believe we recently witnessed them go past their most significant argument. And now I'm beginning to believe Cody is prepared to F again when he claims that he and Mary used to argue and F. Cody stated something along the lines of "You're mistaken if you think I'm not a man of my own mind" during that chat they had a few episodes back. And that's when I started to get the sense. Don't get me wrong, I don't find Cody attractive in any way, shape, or form, but he was undoubtedly attempting to play the sexy card with Mary at that precise moment. Really. Rewatch it. It was like, oh yeah, I'm a big, strong man who thinks for himself, and where's my big boy underwear if you don't believe me? In any case, the next episode's teaser gives me the impression that this strange mood will continue. Although I don't think Cody is particularly interested in getting back together with Mary, I do believe that a part of him might, and I also believe that he is finally realizing that he has alienated nearly every member of his original family, and that he must now be kind to those who are still putting up with his silliness. Has Robyn regressed in maturity, or is it just me? When everyone is packing up their Vegas rentals to move into their new homes in the cul-de-sac, I've been rewatching some older seasons while I wait for new episodes to air. Robyn seems so much more mature, articulate, and cohesive in those earlier seasons. Her conversations with her children, her discussions about the family business, and even her discussions about wanting a strong family unit all seem to have real thought and intention behind them. It only took me about 2 episodes to realize this. She seems to have been dumbed down by Cody in the most recent seasons. She now sounds like a 13-year-old girl attempting to discuss her friend's lack of camaraderie with her mother in a serious manner. Since it looks like all she truly wanted was a large, contented family, and Cody ruined that dream for her, I genuinely feel bad for her. Nevertheless, compared to her prior speech, she now comes across as incredibly innocent and infantile. Seasons like 2012 to 2014. Am I the only one who notices this? Is there anyone else who shares the sentiment? Did anybody else squirm as Robyn tried to decide if Ariella should leave the room before Mary told Robyn and Cody what she was going to say? Since I'm speculating that M represents money or Mary moving, I'm assuming Robyn was concerned that it had to do with money. In any case, this scene made clear how domineering Robyn is with everyone, particularly her children. Perhaps she feared Ariella would propose additional dates. It's obviously about Mary moving, which I think is crazy because a 7-year-old doesn't need to be shielded from the reality that relatives move out occasionally. Mary sees the children about a dozen times a year and is essentially a fun aunt to them. So why does that matter so much? Children should be taught about family relocation from the time they are 5 or 7 years old. It is not beneficial to keep them from experiencing it until they are 21. However, Robyn's misalignment of ideals is what really irritates me. While it's perfectly acceptable for Ari to have a man in kindergarten, and even boast about losing him to a classmate, she feels that it's important to keep Saul and Ari from learning about Mary's move to Peru. Her priorities are so warped that I find it insane. I don't understand why polygamy is still being promoted when, to be honest, nobody in this family seems to be genuinely kind to one another. Whether it's the structure, the culture, or just these people, it's clear that they don't care about one another. As with Robyn and Mary, Christine and Janelle may claim to be closest friends, but their relationships weren't always cordial, particularly with the other sister wives. They have been overtly antagonistic toward Janelle and Christine as well as one another. Under the pretense of bringing Mary closer to the family, Christine has occasionally said some terrible things to her. However, she is currently moving quickly with David, disregarding the feelings of her children in the process. Robyn, too, has also said horrible things about Mary in leaked text messages from years ago, calling her names and even preventing her from seeing the children. In addition to Cody, who is essentially the greatest jerk of them all, Janelle has frequently abused Mary emotionally. Then there are the children who have publicly talked about how difficult their childhoods were, from poverty to the absence of adult supervision while older siblings looked after the younger ones. Their only apparent appreciation is for their sibling bonds. Since Janelle and Mary continue to maintain that polygamy is fantastic, I must question them what exactly they value about the first 18 to 20 years of the children's childhood, when they were growing up as siblings, particularly if the wives' relationship was even worse at the time. Why, in their opinion, was it worthwhile? To be honest, I don't understand. In the most recent episode, Cody accused Robyn of leading Mary on for a long time. Did anyone else notice that at the 29 to 30-minute mark he stated something like, like Robyn frequently asked me in this case? Well, Robyn was always really supportive. Robyn said, "It's not right for you to break this off, and she has to do this, which is why I prolonged it a little bit." It comes out that Robyn's repeated pleas for Mary to stay because she knows Cody still loves her and that they should simply talk were all empty rhetoric. Even though we all previously knew this, it was a strange moment of truth to hear Cody essentially make a mistake and own it. It's particularly odd because he has been yelling for the previous several seasons that he doesn't follow Robyn's instructions, or that he simply isn't capable of accepting responsibility for anything, leaving Robyn alone to bear the blame. Not to mention that at one of the tell-alls, Cody attempted to accuse Christine of being the reason she didn't get back together with Mary, saying that she was at fault since she had a tantrum. Cody is solely to blame. Although Robyn is also awful, it's really just a question of time till he betrays her as well. Christine appears more preoccupied with her relationship's timetable than with the connection itself. Almost all of her sentences begin with the length of time she and David have been together, followed by that strange chuckle when she discusses moving in and leading a sinful life. Embracing any genuine connection with David seems to be less important than sticking it to Cody. It's difficult to take seriously when everything appears more like the ideal of love than the actual relationship. But it seems like Christine has created this ideal relationship in her mind and is now acting it out in the hopes that it will work. The strange body language comes next. Sure, I've cuddled up with someone in bed or on the couch, but I've never stood next to my ex-husband and looked him down with unwavering eyes. That was simply so embarrassing. Cody has been deceiving Mary for years, so if she continues, she will develop a crick in her neck. Even at the end of their shared life, he still places the burden of explaining to Robyn's tenders that she is finally leaving, even though he has been telling them for years that he never loved her and that he regrets marrying her. He sets unrealistic goals for her and keeps changing the goalposts as long as the show has been on. When she decides to leave, he suddenly becomes flirtatious and nostalgic. It's frustrating. And when Mary says she's moving honestly, I can't stand Robyn's small sparkle in her eye. Without him, all the wives would be better off. To be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing a spin-off starring David and Christine. That's better than keeping up with Robyn and Cody, in my opinion. The show is finally revealing how Cody has been manipulating Mary for years, even though I believe she would have been better off leaving sooner. Mary has received a lot of criticism from the audience for remaining in the relationship for so long. It's understandable why Mary keeps her true feelings and desires to herself, since Cody has been jerking her around constantly, even after the legal divorce, the spiritual release, and season after season of him saying he just wants her gone. She has spent a lot of time figuring out how he will react to her decisions. He is still crying, most likely in that Robyn style, fake emotional way, because she has finally made her exit. Let us know in your comments. And stay tuned by subscribing our channel to get more updates like this. Thanks everyone.